Hey, today's presentation is by me, and it's on when did I pass? Distracted driving. I want to start out this presentation today with a confession, and here it is. My name is Jason, and I'm a distracted driver, and I have hit a rumble strip. I have eaten a hamburger while I've been driving, and I've done other things that have been distractions. And I've done things that have put me and others on the road at risk. And I think probably every one of us out there could say similar things. I think distractions are probably increasing problem with everything that's going on, the complexity of our vehicles, technology, and the speed of our lives. I think this distracted driving is one of the biggest risks that we have on any given day. Depending on what statistics you look at, they will say that there's anywhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 50 or even more % of crashes that are caused by distracted driving. Personally, I think it's probably one of the very high numbers that's there, because I think most crashes involve some sort of distraction. So I'm a distracted driver. I have challenges that that I have to work with. I have pressures from work. I have pressures from my home, my family. There are things out on the road that distract me. One of the things is as I was driving into work today, UDOT has their pretty signs that go over top of the freeway, and they had a good one that went right along with this subject today, and it said something to the effect that smart drivers ignore smartphones. And I thought that was a great subject, but it took my eyes off the road for the second or so that it took me to read and understand what that was. It was a distraction. Was it too much? Probably not. But in and of itself, it was a distraction. And I have to admit that I'm distracted by that. Can you admit that you're a distracted driver? Because I think we all are. And I think there are distractions that take our mind and our attention away from the important tasks on the road. So anything out there that can take our mind, take our eyes away from our driving responsibilities is a distraction. Zero Fatalities has a new campaign out this year, and I think it's impactful, and I think it's important for us to consider. So let's watch this quickly. Maybe quickly. Maybe we won't watch it all. There we go. So the focus of this campaign is the lies we tell ourselves can kill other people, and they do kill other people. We tell ourselves that I'm not distracted. I can take that phone call. I can write that text because I'm better. I'm smarter. I can do this better than anybody else. I can drive with my knee while I'm chewing on that hamburger, and whatever that distraction may be. We tell ourselves lies, and someday that may end up in somebody's death. And it might be your own, it might be your child, it might be somebody out on the road. We've got a challenge before us right now, folks. We in 2020 have met lots of challenges and concerns because of pandemics and all of those things. But in an unprecedentedly low number of miles driven in a year, it was just off the charts in a reduction of the miles driven. We had more crashes than the last 10 years. We almost had the highest number of fatalities on Utah roads, and that's what this graph shows in the year 2020. And our experience here at the Trust was no different. We had a significant increase in our auto crashes in the year 2020, and 2021 is starting off not that well, truthfully. And so I believe that distractions are one of the major reasons why we have these crashes and why we've had an increase in those crashes. And that's the reason we wanted to talk about this important subject today. Here's another scary statistic. This one blew me away when I saw it. As of 2019, the number of pedestrian fatalities in the US hit the highest level since 1990. It went down and down and down until the year 2009. And since then, it has done nothing but go up. We are killing more pedestrians on the road. And I had to sit back and ask myself, why is that? Why are we killing more people walking on the side of the road than we ever have? We have safety systems that we put in place for avoiding pedestrians. There are a lot of things that would make it safer for pedestrians out there and help us to avoid them as we're driving. What happened in the year 2009 that was an inflection point that really changed what happens in pedestrian fatalities? And I had to sit back and say, I think it had something to do with technology. I think 2009 was probably a point where we started really using smartphones, and they became ubiquitous among people, and that's scary. In the last year in the state of Utah, we saw about 18 distracted driving fatalities that the statisticians could really prove was specifically related to distraction. I don't think that's anywhere near the total number that involved distraction. Those are just the ones that they could pinpoint, hey, the driver in this vehicle was using their cell phone during the time that this happened, or some other distraction that they could absolutely prove. I think it's probably much higher than that. And I think all of us need to admit that at times we're distracted. At times we hit a rumble strip and go, oh, wow. Or at times we pass an exit and go, oh, when did I pass? Oh, man, because our minds are taken away from that. So as we admit that, we have to say, what can distract us while we're driving? The list is too long to go through. Here are some. We always think about electronic devices, phones, other things like that. But reading, I've never really considered reading while I'm driving, but apparently that is something that's happened. But eating, drinking, talking to passengers in a vehicle, maybe having a heated argument or a discussion about something, grooming, the navigation system, kids in the back. Any one of these things, along with 1,000 others, can distract us while we're driving. And so we've got to identify those. How does that impact me as a driver? What takes my attention away? And it's going to be a personal thing. And this is kind of a funny video. If you look at the person walking along the side, you'll notice that that's one of those distracted pedestrians as well. She didn't even notice that there was an accident that happened almost right next to her, and the person driving didn't either. And we kind of laugh at these things, but I'm telling you, every year we see dozens of claims come in that are things just as silly as this one: running into a pole in a parking lot, backing into a car that was absolutely there, and we could have seen it, but our mind was engaged elsewhere. So we need to understand the risk. When you're driving 70 miles per hour, you're going 102 feet per second. That means in every second, your car moves 102 feet. And if you blink your eyes, how long does it take to blink? 1001, that's a second. I go 102 feet. Well, if I take my eyes off the road to write a text, they figure an average text takes 4 seconds to just simply respond to. That's 408 feet that I've traveled without my eyes on the road. And it doesn't have to be a text. Some people think, oh, it's distracted driving. We're just talking about texting and driving. I never do that. Well, it could be just as easily adjusting the heater. It could be just as easily picking up that apple that you dropped. Um, any of these distractions can take us off the road, and they may cause us to go out of our lane because we turn to the side. Um, Writing a text is equivalent to a blood alcohol content of 0.16, 3 times the legal limit in the state of Utah. When we talk technology, you say, what's the difference between a conversation in a vehicle with somebody sitting next to me and somebody talking on the phone with me? Well, there is a difference. Even though both can be significantly distracting, when I'm talking with somebody on a cell phone, I'm not able to convey all of the messages that we normally have. If I put a mask on, that's one of the frustrations that we have. You don't get the full picture of what I'm trying to communicate. I have facial expressions. If I'm talking to you in person, I move my hands, I make gestures. There's body language that goes along that tells an entire story. Well, our brain doesn't get all of the message in a simple audio call. So it goes into hyperdrive trying to figure out what my message is. What is this person trying to tell me? You ever got a text that could have gone multiple different directions, and you could take those words? It could either be a joke, or somebody could be really serious and maybe confrontational. And you have to look at that text and go, what are they trying to get out here? Whereas if I have an in-person conversation, I convey a lot of those messages. So my brain's going to go into hyperdrive, trying to figure out what that is. Well, our brain has limited capacity to process information. And whatever that distraction is that takes away my ability to process information might make me miss something really important on the road. It could be that pedestrian. It could be an obstacle in the road. It could be somebody coming over into our lane, or something as simple as brake lights ahead of me, and I don't process that in time to avoid an accident. So whatever the distraction is, it is a cognitive thing. It's a brain thing. All right. So how do we fix distracted driving? What are the things that we can do to fix this problem? Well, number one, we need to admit that we have a problem. Just like I did at the first of this presentation, I admitted that I'm a distracted driver. Some days it's worse than others. Some days I have more distractions than that, but I admitted it, and now I've got to do something about it. And so I invite each of you today to do the same. Admit that sometimes I'm distracted. And sometimes I've hit a rumble strip, and I shouldn't be hitting a rumble strip. That tells me I'm distracted. So admit that I have a problem. Make a commitment to make it better. Let's not get to the point where, let's not ever get in a situation where we have to look at ourselves and say, I hurt somebody, I killed somebody, or I wrecked that car because I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted. So make a commitment to avoid those things. Identify our challenges. And like I said, those are personal challenges. Some people may never eat in their car because they don't want to mess up the upholstery. Some people have made a commitment they'll never use a car or use a phone in their car. But each of us have our own distractions. Okay? And then eliminate those distractions and reinforce behavior. So let's talk about just a couple of these things. Those challenges, there are a million of those. And so anything that is in our vehicle or outside our vehicle, I might be looking at that crazy guy that's driving next to me. Wow, that's a weird guy. And I rear end the car that's in front of me because of this distraction outside of my vehicle, the distraction inside my vehicle as well. It's the kids, it's whatever it may be. Here's a here's a little observation here. If you had a bowl of peanut M&Ms on your desk, sitting right, I don't have those. We kind of put those away when COVID happened. So no peanut M&M dispensers at the trust now. But if I had a bowl of peanut M&Ms sitting on my desk, throughout the course of the day, they would probably all be gone. Because it's just something that is really easy to go to that. That's the distraction. And if I can get rid of that distraction from my vehicle so it's not there, get it out of your vision. If there's something that's going to take your mind or your eyes away from the road, put it in the trunk, put it in the back seat, Put it somewhere where it's not going to be the distraction that you're going to be picking up those M&Ms and working and working on eating those. Put your phone in safe driving mode. They have simple things on Android and Apple devices where you can go in and a couple of clicks, you can turn it on, do not disturb when I'm driving. It'll send out a nice message to anybody who calls or texts you and says, this person's driving, and they'll get back to you when they finish their trip. So turn that on, plan ahead, put your information into your navigation system before you leave. Click your seatbelt before you leave. That's one that that is a distraction for me. Sometimes I'll put it in drive before my safety belt is buckled. Well, that's another distraction. Click it before you put it in drive. And then use resources. If I've got somebody in the vehicle with me, have them adjust the radio, have them reach for something. If you needed a snack or something like that, have them help out. And use technology to help as well. If I can have a Bluetooth system that will that my navigation system will work through, that's awesome. It'll tell you get off on the next exit. I love that. That's a great part of technology. If I'm messing with my phone to see where that navigation is telling me to go, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Okay. Here's a couple of steps for Android and iOS, and you guys can figure that out. Super easy to do that. And one more thing, just remember, we lead by example. When we're in the car with our kids, they learn from us. They are going to drive exactly like we do, but on steroids. And so if we're distracted, if we're messing with our phone, if we're turning around, dealing with them at all times, they're going to learn what we do, and they're going to drive just like we do, and maybe a little bit worse. So let's lead by example. Let's teach those around us the better way to go, and that is to identify hazards, get rid of the hazards, and make a commitment to not be distracted while we're driving, or minimize that distraction. So, in summary, remember, this is a risk, and putting distractions into our driving time puts us at risk. We need to make an individual choice. Identify and eliminate our own distractions, and then work to stay alert. All right, that's the presentation today, folks. If you've got any questions or comments, type those into the chat box, and we'll answer those now. All right, Doug and Brent, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. Great job, Jason.
Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Jason. Very timely.
Yeah, I think it's really important right now, as always. But as we see these trends where we start to increase, especially a sharp increase the way we've had in this last year, we really need to take some action. So I invite you all to make that commitment today. Admit that we have challenges, make a commitment to reduce that. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions there, so I think we'll wrap it up. Just remember that we've got Mike Stagg in about 45 minutes to come on and do a presentation on some new training resources. So if you haven't signed up for that, go to our website and click on training and events, and you can sign up there. All right, if you ever have any questions or comments or challenges that you're working with, please give us a call. Doug, Brent, and myself are happy to help out. And everybody go out and have a safe day.